You ever notice how the moment you finally start to move on, he texts you? It's not magic. It's not luck. It's psychology. And today, I'm going to tell you the one truth that almost every woman overlooks when a man starts to pull away. Here it is. Men don't fall in love when they're with you. They fall in love when they're away from you. Pause and let that sink in. Because if you're constantly texting, checking in, trying to fix what went wrong, you're robbing him of the very space his mind needs to realize what he's losing. Here's the truth. No one is saying distance is the breeding ground of desire. Men are biologically wired to seek, to wonder, to miss. If you're always available, always responding, always proving your worth, you're short-circuiting that natural process. I know it's hard. I know silence feels like rejection. But the woman who understands the power of her absence is the woman who becomes unforgettable. In this video, I'm going to show you how to shift your energy, stop overgiving, and start making him feel the loss, not you. Because when you learn to lean back, to tap into your feminine stillness, and stop chasing closure, that's when the magic happens. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to become the woman he can't stop thinking about, even if he walked away. Especially if he walked away. This is how you stop reacting and start attracting. Let's talk about something that makes most women panic and completely lose their power in relationships when a man pulls away. You're talking consistently. Things feel amazing, maybe even magical. And then suddenly his energy shifts. Texts slow down. He stops initiating. He seems distant, distracted, maybe even cold. Your brain starts spiraling. Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? Was it all fake? But here's the truth most women never hear. Him pulling away doesn't mean you did something wrong. It doesn't mean he doesn't care. In fact, it can be a very good thing. Let me explain. Masculine energy, by nature, is cyclical. It's like a wave. A man moves forward when he feels connected and safe, but he also naturally pulls back to recalibrate, process, and reflect. It's not a rejection. It's a reset. Think of it like a rubber band. When you stretch it back, it snaps forward with more force. That's how healthy masculine desire works. When a man pulls away, he's not always disappearing. Sometimes he's simply checking in with himself. He's asking, how do I feel about her? Do I miss her? Am I ready for more? And here's where most women sabotage everything. They chase, they overtext, they overexplain, they try to fix the vibe or call out the distance. But all that does is confirm to him that your world revolves around him, and that's not attractive. That's pressure. And pressure is the fastest way to make a man run even farther. What he needs in that moment is actually the opposite. He needs to feel your absence, not your anxiety. When a woman allows space without reacting, she becomes powerful, not passive, powerful. She lets him feel what life is like without her energy constantly flowing his way. And you know what happens? If the connection is real, he starts to miss her. He remembers the way she made him feel, not because she reminded him, but because she did. This is the moment your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. Most women think they need to do more, but the woman who holds her center, who stays soft but self-respecting, who doesn't beg for attention or clarity, that's the woman who becomes unforgettable. Because it's not about punishing him, it's about protecting your peace. It's about recognizing that if he's meant for you, he'll come back with clarity, not confusion. And if he doesn't, that's also not a loss. That's a reveal. You didn't lose him, you revealed him. A man pulling away is a mirror. It shows you where you still seek validation outside of yourself. It shows you where you cling instead of lean back. And when you don't react to the pullback, but instead anchor deeper into your own worth, that's when the dynamic changes. You become the woman who doesn't chase connection. She creates it. And the right man won't want to risk losing that. So next time he pulls away, breathe. Don't beg. Don't spiral. Sit in your power. Let the space speak. Because silence isn't weakness. It's the most powerful sound he'll ever hear. And trust me, he'll feel it. And if he's worth it, he'll return. There is something undeniably magnetic about a woman who doesn't flinch. She doesn't panic when he takes hours to reply. She doesn't spiral when plans change. She doesn't beg, chase, or try to force outcomes. She's calm, composed, present, and that energy, that's rare. That's irresistible. We call this the unbothered mindset. And no, it's not about being cold, detached, or pretending you don't care. It's not fake confidence. It's not ego. The unbothered mindset is about one powerful truth. You do not place your emotional state in someone else's hands. You see, most women have been conditioned to believe that love means over-investing, that caring means constant communication, that if you're not showing interest, you're losing him. But the truth, constant availability dilutes value. Always reacting to his energy puts you in a position of emotional dependency. The unbothered woman knows she is the source, not the seeker. She understands that a man's pullback, silence, or inconsistency says more about him than it ever will about her worth. She doesn't need to prove anything. She doesn't enter emotional negotiations trying to convince someone to choose her. She knows if you have to convince someone to stay, they were never really there. That kind of quiet confidence creates space. It gives him room to reflect, to want to come towards you, not because you demanded it, but because your stillness invited it. Men aren't drawn to chaos. They're drawn to clarity. And when you radiate peace instead of panic, certainty instead of clinginess, you don't just stand out, you stand apart. The unbothered mindset doesn't mean you don't feel. You're human. You'll feel everything. But it means you pause before reacting. You check in with yourself before reaching out. You ask, is this coming from my intuition or from fear? And if it's fear, you sit with it. You don't let it drive. When a woman lives in her power, her standards don't change based on who's in front of her. Her energy doesn't shift depending on who's texting her or who's distant that day. She becomes stable, grounded, consistent. And here's the wild part. That kind of energy makes him uncertain in the best way. It makes him curious, intrigued, a little nervous even, because now he's wondering what's going on in your world that makes you so complete without his constant validation. That's when the dynamic flips. That's when he leans in. Not because you played a game, but because you stopped playing him. Most women pour everything into a man and hope he'll choose her. The unbothered woman chooses herself first and lets the right man meet her there. And when he doesn't, she lets him go, peacefully, quietly, without begging for closure, because she knows her value doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's confusion. That's why she's unforgettable. So if you want to become magnetic, not just to him, but to everything that's meant for you, start practicing this mindset. Start asking yourself, would the woman I'm becoming chase this, obsess over this, shrink for this? If the answer is no, then your response becomes simple. You rise above it. You stay soft but steady, kind but clear, open but never desperate. That's the woman he loses sleep over. That's the energy he keeps coming back to. Not because she tried to impress him, but because she stopped needing to. That's the unbothered mindset. And that's how you become absolutely irresistible. Let's get one thing clear. Men don't fall in love with looks. They're drawn in by appearance. Yes, but they stay because of energy. Specifically, feminine energy. The kind that pulls him in without you ever lifting a finger. The kind that speaks louder than words, louder than any text or we need to talk moment. Feminine energy is your secret weapon. And when you learn how to activate it intentionally, it becomes irresistible. So what does it look like when a woman moves in her feminine energy? It's not about being submissive. It's not about shrinking yourself, playing small, or being overly agreeable. Feminine energy is about flow. It's about receptivity. It's about how you walk into a room without chasing attention, yet somehow everyone notices you. It's about softness with strength, openness with boundaries, warmth with self-respect. And that combination, it triggers something primal in a man. It wakes up his instinct to pursue. One of the most powerful feminine moves is leaning back, not passively, but intentionally. It means you stop trying to direct the relationship and start allowing space for him to lead. You let him initiate. You let him show up. You receive not because you can't give, but because you know your value doesn't depend on effort. It depends on energy. Another feminine energy move, presence. Put your phone down when you're with him. Really listen, laugh fully, express emotion. Let him feel your aliveness. Feminine energy is rich with emotion, depth and expression. not moodiness, but vibrancy. Men don't crave logic in love. They crave feeling. When you're present in your body, grounded in the moment, and unapologetically expressive, he doesn't just notice, he remembers you. Then there's mystery. You don't need to spill your whole life story in one night. Keep some things for later. Feminine energy doesn't overshare. It invites curiosity. It lets him lean in, ask questions, work to know you. You don't perform, you reveal yourself slowly, layer by layer. The woman who doesn't rush to impress makes a man wonder what's beneath the surface. And that curiosity creates desire. Body language is another subtle yet powerful feminine energy move. Relax your shoulders, breathe deeply, uncross your arms, move slowly, make eye contact, then look away. Smile when you mean it. Touch your neck or collarbone while listening. Not in a forced, manipulative way, but because you're in tune with your body. That embodiment is sensual without trying to be sexy. It's the energy that says, I feel good in myself. And that's what draws you in. And lastly, standards. Yes, this is deeply feminine. Knowing what you will and won't tolerate, calmly expressing your needs, and walking away when something doesn't serve you. That is feminine energy in its most grounded form. A woman who values her peace more than she fears losing a man. She's intoxicating because she's not afraid to lose him. She knows she'll never lose what's meant for her. And lastly, standards. When you combine these moves, leaning back, presence, mystery, body language, and unshakable standards, you create a field of energy that men don't just chase. They respect, they crave, they remember, because it's not about manipulating him into wanting you. It's about becoming the kind of woman who naturally activates his desire, not through effort, through essence. Feminine energy doesn't ask, do you like me? It silently commands, you're lucky to be here. And that, more than anything, is what keeps him coming back. So, he's back. Maybe it's been days, maybe weeks, maybe he ghosted completely. And now, out of nowhere, he sends that, hey, or I've been thinking about you message. And your heart skips, right? You feel a rush of emotions, confusion, excitement, validation, maybe even hope. But before you respond, breathe. This moment right here, it's where most women lose their power. Because the truth is, what you say and don't say when he comes back sets the tone for everything that happens next. If your instinct is to flood him with messages, to get answers, to instantly forgive just because he reached out, that's not connection, that's reactivity. And men feel that. The most powerful thing you can do in this moment isn't to prove your worth with words. It's to hold your energy steady. So what should you not say when he comes back? Don't lead with, where have you been? Or I missed you so much. That might be how you feel, and that's valid. But that language puts him in the position of power. It shows you are waiting, holding on, and whether you realize it or not, it rewards his inconsistency. Don't jump into explaining your feelings or asking for clarity right away. You don't need to perform emotional labor for someone who left. If he wants back into your life, he should earn his spot with consistent effort, not convenient check-ins. Also avoid the cold, punishing energy of sarcasm like, oh, look who decided to show up. That might feel good for a second, but it closes off the emotional openness you've worked so hard to cultivate. Now, let's talk about what to say instead. If you're open to hearing him out, keep it neutral, graceful, and self-possessed. A simple, hey, nice to hear from you. What made you reach out? Is powerful. It places the responsibility on him to initiate meaningful dialogue, not just test the waters. If he offers a vague message like, I miss you, don't jump into the emotional pool. Instead, respond with something like, I hope you've been well. Short, calm, collected. It shows you're not angry, but you're not jumping back into fantasy mode either. And if you're unsure about your own feelings, that's okay. You can say, I've been focusing on myself. I'd have to think about whether reconnecting is aligned for me right now. That sentence alone will stop him in his tracks, because now you're the one deciding, you're the one with the power. What makes this so effective is that it reflects high value energy. You're not playing games, but you're also not giving instant access to someone who once chose distance. Let him feel that. Let him feel that your world didn't fall apart in his absence. Remember, how you respond teaches people how to treat you. When you maintain your peace, your softness, and your standards, you show him that getting you back isn't guaranteed, that just because he's returned doesn't mean he automatically gets to pick up where things left off. Your presence is a privilege, and he'll either rise to meet it or he won't. But your self-worth stays intact either way. So the next time he comes back, don't panic, don't perform, just pause. And remember, you don't need the perfect words. You just need the right energy. That's what he'll feel. That's what will speak louder than anything you say. Let's make one thing clear. You are the prize. Not because you say it, not because you post about it, but because you embody it. And when you truly understand that, your energy shifts. Instant. People start responding to you differently, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've finally remembered your value. Now let's talk about what that shift actually looks like. Becoming the prize isn't about arrogance. It's not about playing hard to get, being unavailable, or acting like you're too good for everyone. That's not power. That's performance. And deep down, people can feel when it's fake. True prize energy is calm. It's grounded. It says, I know what I bring. I don't need to chase, prove, or perform. It's the woman who walks into a room and doesn't scan to see who's watching her because she's not performing. She's present. And that presence is magnetic. The shift starts when you stop asking, does he like me? And start asking, do I even like how I feel around him? That small question is a massive energetic pivot. Because now you're not waiting for approval. You're observing, you're choosing, you're filtering, not begging. Prize energy comes from knowing you're not in competition with anyone. When you fully embrace your unique energy, your story, your presence, you stop comparing. You stop overanalyzing what the other girl has. You realize no one can do you better than you. And when you shift into that mindset, it becomes less about whether he texts you back and more about whether his energy aligns with your peace. One of the fastest ways to embody prize energy is to stop negotiating your standards just to keep someone around. If he's inconsistent, unclear, or playing games, you don't try harder. You step back, not to manipulate, but because you're not entertaining energy that confuses you. You see, a man may not always articulate what's going on, but he always feels your energy. When you're anxious, overthinking, or overly attached to the outcome, it subtly pushes him away. Not because you're too much, but because your energy says, please choose me. And that's not prize energy. The woman who is the prize doesn't beg to be chosen. She chooses herself and allows others to rise to meet her or exit gracefully. And here's the magic. When you shift into that vibe, it creates polarity. Masculine energy is drawn to a woman who knows her worth, stays rooted in it, and doesn't waver based on someone else's attention. It's not about indifference, it's about inner abundance. Your energy says, I don't need to chase, I attract. Prize energy also means you're not afraid to walk away. If something doesn't feel aligned, you don't try to make it fit. You don't cling to potential. You don't stay just to prove you're worthy. You know that the right connection will never require you to abandon yourself. And that self-trust, that's magnetic. So if you want to shift into this energy starting today, here's what you do. You stop over-explaining. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stop pouring into someone who only offers you drops. And you start moving like someone who knows she's the blessing. Because when you become the prize, you don't just attract love, you attract respect, you attract consistency, you attract people who value your peace, because you value it first. This isn't about ego, it's about elevation. And the minute you shift into this frequency, you stop chasing and start choosing. And that's when everything begins to change. If you want a man to chase you again, you need to understand something powerful. Men don't chase women, they chase feelings. The feeling of desire, the feeling of uncertainty, the feeling of wanting to win. That's how the masculine is wired. He doesn't fall in love with your potential. He falls in love with how he feels around you. So if you want him to start chasing again, you don't beg, convince, or explain. You trigger the right psychological switches. And it starts with one word, distance. Men don't chase what they feel they already have. When you're always available, always texting, always reacting, you remove the mystery. You remove the emotional friction that creates desire. It's not about ghosting him or playing mind games. It's about creating energetic space so his mind starts to wonder, what's going on with her? That question alone, it reignites curiosity. And curiosity is the beginning of pursuit. Next, trigger uncertainty in a healthy way. Too many women try to be clear and upfront to avoid playing games. But in doing that, they unknowingly remove the spark. When you show him exactly where he stands before he's even proven himself, the chase is over. Men need to work a little to feel invested. This doesn't mean being manipulative. It means allowing the natural rhythm of dating to unfold. You don't text back immediately every time. You don't always initiate. You're warm, but you're not always there. You have a life, a full one, and that unpredictability, it triggers a deep part of him that needs to know more. Another key psychological trigger is loss potential. Humans, especially men, are wired to fear loss more than they desire gain. When he feels like he could actually lose you, it forces him to reassess what you meant to him. And this only works if it's real. You have to be willing to walk away, not as a strategy, but as a reflection of your standards. When you detach from needing him to come back and focus on your glow up, your growth, your goals, that's when the shift happens. He senses your energy is no longer orbiting him. And suddenly the power dynamic flips. You also want to tap into what's called selective availability. You're not cold, you're not rude, but you're not constantly accessible either. You don't always pick up the call. You don't always respond with a novel. And when you do talk, your vibe is light, positive, unbothered, not robotic, but free. That energy makes him think, wait, she's happy without me. And that thought alone triggers his competitive side. His ego gets activated. And now he needs to feel important again. But here's the kicker. Once he starts chasing, you don't drop everything and run into his arms. You keep your energy consistent. You stay warm, but grounded. You let him earn his place again, because real attraction is built when a man feels like he's slowly uncovering layers, not receiving everything up front. One final trigger, emotional imprinting. Make him associate you with feeling alive. This happens when you're playful, present, and emotionally expressive. Not dramatic, but emotionally available. When you laugh together, when you had real moments, those memories leave marks. And when you re-engage with him, even briefly, you echo those same frequencies. A shared joke, a signature phrase, a confident smile. Men don't forget the woman who made them feel deeply. And when you combine emotional connection with emotional distance, you create a push-pull effect that keeps him thinking about you long after the conversation ends. So don't chase, trigger the chase by becoming the woman he can't stop wondering about. Not because you begged, but because you became the one thing his mind and heart can't ignore. Let's talk about the silent relationship killers. The little things women do, not out of malice, but out of fear, insecurity, and sometimes pure emotional investment that slowly push men away. These mistakes don't make you a bad partner. They make you human. But if you don't catch them, they can sabotage something beautiful before it even has a chance to grow. One of the biggest mistakes, over-investing too soon. You meet a guy, the energy is there, conversations flow, and suddenly you're planning your future together in your head. You adjust your schedule to match his. You're texting first, making plans, filling in all the emotional gaps, while he's barely putting in half the effort. And in your mind, it feels like connection. But to him, it's pressure. He hasn't earned that level of access yet. And without realizing it, you've shifted the dynamic from mutual discovery to emotional chasing. The fix, pull your energy back. Don't give 100% to someone who's only giving 40. Let him come to you. Let him wonder where your attention went. Because the woman who values her energy isn't easy to forget. Next, ignoring red flags in favor of potential. He's inconsistent, but when he's present, it's magical. He flakes, but when he shows up, he's charming. So you cling to the good moments, thinking you can inspire him to change. But here's the truth. Love isn't supposed to feel like emotional whiplash. If someone is hot and cold, it's not a sign that you're meant to fix them. It's a sign that they're not ready. Stop falling in love with someone's potential and start being honest about their patterns. If he wanted to, he would. No mixed signals, no excuses, just effort. Another huge mistake, over-explaining your worth. We've all done it, justifying why we feel hurt, explaining our value, hoping they'll finally see how amazing we are. But the more you try to prove yourself, the more it sounds like begging, And high-value women don't beg to be seen. They see themselves, and that's enough. If someone doesn't recognize your energy, your heart, your light, let them go. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. And then there's confusing vulnerability with oversharing. Being emotionally open is powerful, but dumping your entire emotional history within the first few conversations isn't intimacy. It's insecurity dressed up as honesty. Real connection unfolds slowly. It's not rushed. Let someone earn your story, layer by layer. That mystery, it keeps the attraction alive. And here's a subtle but major mistake: abandoning your own life. You cancel plans with friends, stop focusing on your goals, neglect your hobbies, all because you've started seeing someone. You start revolving around him instead of your own center. And when that happens, you lose the very essence that made you magnetic in the first place. Men don't fall in love with women who make them their world. They fall in love with women who have a world of their own and invite them into it. Finally, the most common mistake: making him the source of your happiness. You expect him to validate your beauty, your worth, your place in his life, but that puts too much weight on someone else. Happiness that depends on another person isn't love, it's attachment. And attachment breeds anxiety. You want him to chase you, admire you, stay, then fall in love with you first. Your life, your peace, your growth. When a woman is lit up from within, she becomes unforgettable. Avoid these mistakes, not to get the guy, but to honor yourself. Because when you stop showing up from fear and start leading with confidence, clarity, and self-worth, everything changes. And the right man, he'll rise to meet the version of you who refuses to settle for less. Here's what I need you to remember before this video ends. You are the power. You are the energy he felt when he first met you, the glow he couldn't explain, the softness that calmed his chaos, the mystery that pulled him in. It was never about what you wore, how quickly you replied, or how hard you tried to prove your worth. He was drawn to you because of who you were when you weren't overthinking, when you weren't trying to get him, when you were just being that version of you. She's still in there, and she doesn't need to chase, beg, or question her value. She doesn't wait for text to feel chosen. She chooses herself over and over again. And when you stay rooted in that energy, confident, calm, radiant, he feels it. Even in your silence, even in your absence, because true feminine power isn't loud, it's magnetic. You don't need to twist yourself into the version of a woman you think he wants. The moment you start showing up fully as you, the woman, with standards, with grace, with a life that lights her up, you stop being an option. You become the one he remembers. So whether he comes back or not, whether he chases again or fades away, understand this. Your power doesn't live in his return. It lives in your alignment, in your ability to hold your value, even when it's tempting to forget. Because the truth is, men are always drawn to power. Not control, not ego, but the quiet, certain kind. The kind that whispers, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I'm not settling for less. So hold your head high, beautiful. You don't need to do more. You just need to be. And the right man, the one who's truly meant for you, won't just chase you. He'll honor you, protect your peace, and never let you forget that you are always the prize.